Namaste.
Ramana, I'd like for you to meet Uruswati. He's here from India.
Welcome to this ashram, Uruswati. You live here in Truvanamala? Do you speak English? You from Truvanamala?
North India.
North India.
Oh, North India. Okay. Well, welcome. And welcome everyone else. Since everyone else here has been here before and a number of times, and sometimes for maybe more than 1 year, there's not anything new. What is there to be shared other than our being? If you do have anything happening with you, anything that is currently occurring that you would wish to share or address in a conscious manner, I certainly would imagine you would want to discuss it in a conscious manner rather than an unconscious one. We all just come together for spiritual fellowship and the consciousness of being. There's really not anything to talk about, is there? Of course, unless there's something that is occurring currently in your life and affairs that you would like to address or share in fellowship, or for us to be with you and support you through whatever period it might be that you're going through something that is maybe unpleasant. All right, Gregory.
Sometimes I notice a conflict between two concepts. One concept would be, I would call being a better person, doing better work, being nicer to people, more accepting, friendly, happy, mostly in terms of my relationship with what we call the external world. And the other concept is there's no individual, everything's predestined, preordained, and it's that it's basically the ego that maybe wants to be a better person, or even just as a strategy to fit in, to in the Neville language, to make assumptions about how I am in the world, does seem to be an egoic thing in some sort of way. And I'm sure this is, every seeker has gone through this, and I'd like your feedback a little bit.
All right. Well, about this, I guess the most direct thing that I could have with you is a question. Why do you make a conflict out of it?
It's the last time I attended here, I was talking about there still seems to be a personal sense of I.
Isn't that itself a problem?
That it is a problem is something I'm engaging in as an acceptance. And so that personal sense of I is the same one who's maybe wanting to be a better guy or make nicer work, or stop being so judgmental against people I don't like. Where if I just don't care, yeah. Seems this is probably even a deeper question. Who experiences the self? You can't experience the self. Huh? The self is what experiences. So even in meditation or in daily life, there often seems to be an I that notices things. And when I notice this I'll inquire and fall into this place. And it's a kind of an easy process now, self-inquiry for me, even in the midst of situations which aren't necessarily so happy. I guess I'm asking to, would you encourage me to even fully drop the sense of doership, even in the context of being a better or more successful or more loving person?
Can you?
This begs the question, or asks for the question, can one do anything? One of the ironies of aham is if I say I feel happy, that means I haven't got it yet. Because there's still an I, you know.
Simply, happiness is when there's no I.
Yes.
And if there is an I there that is being identified with, then you're subject to everything that can be upsetting, can be delightful too. But you see, it's coming from a conceptual delight or non-delight, because it's a thought. Whereas if you're just abiding, you don't have to do anything. Just abiding. What is occurring when it's occurring, and it's always only occurring in this instant. So abiding in this instant as whatever is occurring in this instant without any identification with it.
Sometimes I'm very rude to people and it just comes out quite naturally.
Well, when you see that
and
that's...
if I just say, okay, that's cool.
When you see that a rudeness rises, where does that rudeness come from, see? Not intellectually, but just look. See.
Well, I would use the word ego for this. There's some sort of egoic projection or distancing or some sort of feeling a need to comment on a set of circumstances.
It comes from a conditioned pattern.
Okay.
And this conditioned pattern got triggered off by some current event. Maybe in the moment it's an appropriate response to some event that is happening with someone you're with. Maybe in the moment it's not. But that qualification factor is still the I.
And who qualifies it is still the I.
The I. The I. As far as the awareness is concerned, it doesn't make any difference.
The unbelievable emptiness essence of abidance. I mean, it's not even having a thought about emptiness. You know, I can't even describe it, but even that I know it maybe is at one remove from the pure abidance. But this place of non-discrimination, or you gave me the Ribhu Gita last week, and I've been reading that, and as good as words can do, it's pretty good. I think there's some changing quality in the way I experience life. Even I would like to throw the I out of that sentence. So I think even the more subtle understandings, I'll just even inquire about those.
Well, see, you have only one instrument to work with.
Yes.
And that's this I, the mind.
Yes.
Okay. And the mind always works in opposites.
In opposites.
Is opposites, yes. Always. See? So on one occasion, you are going to be feeling that you're thinking and feeling that you were rude. And another moment, you're going to be thinking and feeling that you were kind and considerate. Those are just the opposites of one another. All right, just see that. If in an occasion, if you're able to come to a place in working with it that you can, to a certain degree, neutralize or root out of this conditioned pattern of me, any and all rudeness. And you can kind of do that in a weeding process, you see. You can weed out any tendencies and patterns of being unkind, rude, or whatever word you want to talk about, and leave more of the kind and supportive and considerate and loving, compassionate qualities. You see, that can happen. You can do that, and let that be your sadhana. See. Because otherwise, it doesn't seem like it. Your sadhana is going to require anything in the sense of the recognition or the knowing of this prior awareness, prior to the mind or prior to body-mind. See, so your sadhana would be rooting out, neutralizing any patterns and tendencies that may still be there, that tend to anger people or alienate people or whatever, you see. Again, there are occasions in which it may be appropriate to anger people, but again, who's doing it? See, that's just the me, that's just the I. Are you that? No. That's not you. See, the problem is, if there's a problem, I'm not saying there's a problem, it's thinking that it's me doing it.
Yes, and the idea that we even all here are entered into a process called spirituality or getting enlightened or something like that, even that I...
Yes. Is there such a one?
Yeah, it's an obstacle in its own self.
Yes, there is no such one, see? The paradox of it is there never has been. There only appears to be. And so what seems to be problematic is our having identified with what we think we are, who we think we are, which is not who we are. We're just intelligence energy. The energy of pure intelligence, the total functioning that is happening all the time. And it's a neutral process. It's a reference point called I. You mentioned ego. That calls it okay or not okay. That's the mind. Just see it, that's all. And once you see it, and you recognize it and see the falseness of this reference point, this centering reference point, this qualifying reference point, the one that calls an inside and outside, past and future, okay and not okay. That's false. That's not even real. That's that's the mind.
The appearance of a node of selfness or centeredness is there. I've been in a situation in my artwork where stuff is coming through me that I have no idea how and where it comes from. And so there does seem to be some transcendental aspects of our own individuality, and maybe when you wrote your books, something came through you.
But see, now, just watch your words, right?
Yes,
right
yes,
here, right
exactly.
here. When you say some transcendental aspect, that's the self. Who's calling it transcendental?
Outside of the common habits of small self-identification seems to be dimensions of existence, which does set up a seeming polarity of duality. I am here and there's this external experience that's happening.
But that's just conceptual.
That's deception.
That's conceptual. See? There is no such entity as such. It's just the total functioning happening, and there's an I qualifying it and calling it this and that. And just see the falseness of this qualification. And you don't have to do anything about it. You just see it for what it is and be free of it and just watch it in humor and compassion.
The place, again, I don't want to trap you in or me into language, but the place I'm seeing from, is that still egoic?
Well, you see, yes.
That's still my...
Yes. It's okay.
Using a thorn to remove a thorn.
See, you're talking about an inside and an outside, a back here and an out there. Well, what's that reference point that is making that qualification?
Only an arbitrary thing. Huh?
All there is just being. Just this intelligence, energy, consciousness, existence itself, pure existence. There is no I in it. No I in it. But there seems to be, and there's a strong habit of identifying with this reference point that is called an I. Just see it. That's all it is. It's just a habit of identifying with this reference point. Nothing wrong with it, but just see it. Because once you identify with it, now you've east and west, you see? Everything is set infinitely apart. Are you familiar with Satsang? Satsang, the third Zen patriarch, said, make no distinctions for or against anything. Once you do, heaven and earth is set infinitely apart. Are you with it? And that's just all apparently going on. It really isn't going on. It just appears to be. Ordinarily, there's a looking for some special aha in which it's all completed. That's trying to make the mind come to know it. The mind can't come to know it. It's written in the Hindu scriptures, in the Gita, it's written in it that fire can't burn it, water can't wet it, the wind can't lift it, a sword can't cut it. Why? The sword is in it. It's prior to. You see? You see, what happens is on awakening from dreamless sleep, where we're abiding it as that, as the awareness all the time, the first thing that we perceive, see, the first thing is just seeing. Just seeing. See? Seeing, hearing, experiencing. But in the seeing, we open our eyes and we see. What do we see? We see this. This is an object. But what do? We identify with it and make it subject. And there's the drama. The scenario goes on. It's not subject. It's an object. The subject is the awareness itself. And we're always the subject. But we're creating a seeming subject that is this I am the body notion. And then everything becomes object to that and not that. See, not I, not I, not I, not I, not I. And we reduce everything back in comparison to the seer, which is now the subject that is going on in the awareness. You see, we've already separated it into this reference point that we call now a subject that is seeing everything else as object. This creation of time and space, the creation of a world. And so we are missing, we can't see the self because we have it covered up with the mind that has created a body mind, or a body, a world, people, and all of it is just part of another, no different than a sleeping dream. It's just the waking dream. It's just no different. It's just the dream.
Maybe the only question in words I would ask is as a confirmation. The awareness that I am, just pure, simple awareness, huh? It's not personal, right?
Right.
So then that's
That's it. It's not personal.
Yeah.
So whose awareness is it? Is it my awareness? Is it your awareness? Is it someone else's awareness? It's all awareness. It's awareness. It's just awareness. In all the religions, particularly Christianity, it's omnipotence, omnipresence, omniscience, one. Hear ye, O Israel. See, the Lord thy God is one. Or I am the Lord and there is no other. You see?
Just this lifetime habit of thinking that this awareness is my awareness. It's just awareness.
Yes, it's just awareness. The other day here when I was playfully, I believe you were here, when I was playfully sharing and communicating with who all here uses I and meaning yourself. Everyone said, well, yeah, we all use I and me. I said, well, that's my word. Why are you using my word? That's I'm just being playful with it. In fact, I've got that in my book. Or no, it's not my book. Something else I was writing on the other day. But you see, we can look at it and think also, consider, we all use I. Everyone here use I?
Yes.
Well, you see, that in itself is speaking of the universality.
It's not that, I said this to Charlotte the other day, or wrote, it's not that there's not individuals. It's that in awareness, as awareness, there's no individuality.
One ocean, many apparent waves. See, well, what are the apparent waves? The bodies. See, all these bodies that all shine with I, everyone has the same consciousness. The one consciousness that shines through all of these eyes.
And it's not personal.
No, it's not personal. It's universal. So, in one of my books, I say, the self you think you are is not the self you really are. There is no individual. And the problem is the thinking that we're an individual. We get identified with the notion that we're individual, the whole history that goes with this body-mind that we call and think is an individual, that we've identified with since shortly after birth, 2 or 3 years old, and the history that goes with that, thinking that's me. See, the I am is what we all, just this simple I am, and it's all of us. But that doesn't seem to be enough, this simple I am. So we add to this simple I am an image that dates all the way back to when we were children. And then the whole history that goes with this image of this body-mind that we're identified with, that we think is us, and all the experiences and all the events that pertain to this body-mind, and the one consciousness shining in this seeming scenario of individuality, but it's just still one being playing all of these apparent roles.
It's amazing how any word is alive. What a huge distance between reality and any word is. And how this understanding comes to park into whatever is a being that's being aware, it's curious. But what things you often say, I'm not saying anything, I'm pointing, these are sign pointers. And understanding is so different than the words that describe the understanding, it seems.
Well, see, intelligence, the energy, intelligence, energy, is the self. And this intelligence energy is pure knowing. There's no one there that knows. There's no one that knows that it knows. That's the mind that enters. It's the mind that knows and doesn't know. But this pure knowledge is prior to knowing and not knowing. This pure knowledge does not, it's paradoxical. It doesn't know. It's knowledge itself.
Just is enough what you said, this intelligence energy is the self. It released a lot in me to hear that.
Are we all in on this? It behooves us, certainly, abiding as the awareness, as the intelligence energy, and allowing only that to be, as we're not identifying with anything else, is nothing wrong with that. That's good. at the same time be present in the exchange that is happening as it can clear up any concepts that we may be carrying around with regard to it. Because the communication can itself be, and is, a pointing to this very knowingness. So that the knowingness is yours without there being an I there that it is you. What is significant is for making it yours, meaning you can't make it yours, you recognize it as the awareness, as the knowledge, the knowing, as the being, as the truth. See? So like when the Master Jesus said, you will know the truth. See, in the knowing of this truth, in this knowing of the truth, there's freedom. There's freedom from false or wrong identification. And this wrong or false identification is itself a problem. If we let go of this wrong or false identification, which is what? It's just this individual sense of I, this believed scenario, this believed role that we're identified with and think is me, with this history that we really believe is me, with all the dynamics that goes with the okay and not okay, the self-image that is included in all of that. When we let go of all of that, all of this identification with who we think we are, and recognize that that's not the self we actually are, then there's liberation. Until then, there's no liberation. And the paradox of it is, there is no liberation other than this. Did we get that? See? Until we get this, there's no liberation. And when we get this, there's no liberation. Because it's what is. And it's always been what is. So this looking for liberation is nothing more than the letting go of what we're not, so that that which we are reveals itself as it is. Freedom is always already our true nature. It always has been. But if we're identified with what we're not, if we're identified with the body and the mind, the history of the body, the contents of the mind, all the thoughts, patterns, beliefs, concepts that fill the mind, all of the recorded events, experiences, dynamics, behavior patterns of the body, we're identified with all of that as who we are. We call it me, this believed individual, this believed person, this believed self, little s, ego, personality. We all know the words, the quality. If that's what we're identified with, if that's what we continue to support, engage in, prolong our identification with it, make it last because we think that's who we are, and if we don't have that, we ain't got anything. That's the suffering. But when we get it, simply that that's all false, that's all false. That's not who we are. This that we are is prior to this body-mind identification. It's the awareness itself that has always been, always will be. It's universal, it's not personal. It's omnipresent, it's everywhere present. It's omniscient, it's all-knowing. And it's omnipotent. It's all the energy, all the power there ever was or will be for any intention or purpose or ability or whatever. It's what holds it all together. In other words, the self we really are is what's been holding it all together. The self we think we are that's been holding it all together hasn't been holding it all together. Or it's been holding together the suffering. Do we get it? Then what else is there to get? Nothing. This is the sum and substance of it. So why do I not know this all the time? Who says that you don't? What is it, if anything, that you've been identified with that's saying that you don't? If there is something that you're identified with that's saying that you don't, that's the problem. Because if you didn't have that you are identified with that's saying that you don't, what's the problem? You'd have to think that you're not that. And the thinking that you're not that is the problem. Is everyone here aware you're existing?
Yes.
Can you deny that you're existing?
No.
Your existence is your being. And yours is not even true either. It's just existence. See, identifying with it as me rather than seeing it as existence itself. Rather than seeing that this that I am is existence itself. It's Moses' enlightenment. I am that I am. There's only one I am, not two. When we get it, that this I am that we are is the I am that is, there's not two. that our identification with the body and the mind as though that's who I am is the problem. That's not who we are. The awareness is who we are. The pure being that is awareness, that is existence itself, is who we are. It's self-existing, self-aware. Understand the body is not self-existing and self-aware. It depends upon the awareness that is prior to it that keeps it alive. Otherwise, a corpse would say, "Don't bury me." There's no life in the body. Bodies are robots. The enlivening of the body is the awareness that is the self that we all are, again, universal. One ocean shining through all the waves. One awareness shining through all the bodies. The sense of I as an individual is false. It's a lie. That's what in the Hindu system they call Maya, the illusion. Is your body breathing? Do you think that you're breathing? See, the body's breathing. So get it from the inside. It breathes me. The me that is thinking itself to be the body. It breathes me. It breathes me. What breathes me? The awareness, the dynamics of this intelligence energy. Does it not breathe the body even in dreamless sleep? In dreamless sleep, it breathes the body. It pumps the heart and the pulse. It grows the hair. Fingernails. Let's say if we are in a coma, we're in a long sleep. A long sleep of so-called unconsciousness. But you can't say that if the body has not died, it's still conscious. It's just in a coma. Meaning what? No thought. No mind. The mind is not active. But the being is active. Consciousness is still present as intelligence energy, keeping alive the body. In America, there's a big dispute over this lady, I can't remember her name, last year, who died. She was on support systems. Her quality of life was pretty poor. She was in a state of unconsciousness. Yes, there was life there. So you can see the moralist, the ethical involved people as to whether or not to let the body die, force feed it, keep it alive, or let it die. Well, it's just the moralistic point of view of a lot of people based upon their religious notions and beliefs. it seemed like in the case of this lady, she had let it be known that she did not want to let her body be kept alive if she did not have a quality of life that she was familiar with in the body. But George Bush, the Republicans, and some of the right-wing conservative Christians got involved in it and made a political issue out of it from a religious point of view. Well, that's their prerogative, I guess, to do so. They did it. Are you with it? Her family, who were Christians, and then her husband, who wanted to fulfill her wishes because that's what she'd expressed. That's what she said she wanted. So he was wanting to let her drop the body, but her family wanted to intercede and keep her like in a prison of a body that had no real qualitative life in it.
It's an interesting question. Was the jiva present or was it not?
Well, the jiva as an individual, would be the thought of I. The thought of I.
But just generally, my landlord died a few days ago, so I had a great experience with his dead body, and he was gone, and the body was completely inert, totally gone. So, body finished, soul departed, we say in English.
Well, I just mentioned that. See, this lady's body was still alive.
That's the point. So
but there was no sense of I in it. They did everything they could to try to find a sense of I. Her family would indicate that she did because they wanted her to. But as far as the doctors were concerned, no, there's not. See, when you're in a coma, it's just like you're in dreamless sleep. When you're in dreamless sleep, okay, while you're and not being disturbed in dreamless sleep, you could be going through, physically speaking, while awake, intense trauma. But if you're in dreamless sleep, there's no trauma. You're not there. There's no I there. There's no ego there. And her family wanted there to be an I there, an ego there. They wanted that. It's okay. I'm not judging that. I'm just saying that's what they wanted. Her husband, I don't know that he had any philosophy about it one way or the other. He just wanted to fulfill her wishes. You with that? Now, had she have come back with the sense of I, that'd been another matter, but she didn't. There was no sense of I there. There was only intelligence, energy, keeping the body alive, breathing the body, pumping the blood, growing the fingernails and the hair. You see, all of that, as long as they kept the body alive for it to be able to do that. Sure, it's a fine-tuned moralistic issue based upon the point of view, but the point of view of whom? See, it takes an I there, the mind again. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just pointing it out.
That's just interesting. What is life and where it begins and where it ends? Whether it's a tree, a person, an animal, it's something living is really, there's something quite magic. Self-healing, replicating of cells, and then something we call a tree dies, that whole process stops. And that process...
Well, you see, but the life is there even before your brain.
Yes, as Nisargadatta says, who were you before the egg and the sperm came together is who you are now.
Yes.
And this is, so life is already in the relative, one step removed from being almost.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
In other words, the I is beyond livingness, beyond life.
In words.
In words.
Yesterday you were talking about this whole picture, this 40-minute picture of Mars and how that whole thing came together with the rover taking those still shots, and now they've made a movement out of it, like you're actually walking on Mars, and there's it looks like it's all moving. And when you were sharing that with me, what I started seeing was the old Disney shots when they were making the cartoons, and where they would draw one picture and then another picture and then another, and then they would just kind of roll the pictures, and it looked like there was movement, but it was all still shots. But they were so close together that when movement happened, it looked like it was that Mickey Mouse was really moving. And it was, as you're speaking today, I was just feeling that thought is thought, just like those pictures of the rover on Mars, you know, and that there's something there that comes in that, like they did with the picture, with creating the actual movie, that puts all those thoughts together that looks like movement and gives reality to something that's just thought. And
Yes.
that's what you're saying, is that it's like a magic show that's going on here. That is that just that breath that just moves it, and then it all looks like it's real, but it's just a magic show.
The illusion of continuity.
It's just, and when you were saying that, when you were reading that article about how it was so awesome, because now as you see this 40-minute picture, it will actually, because they were just still shots, it'll actually look like you're moving, and that everything's moving. But it had no movement at all to begin with. It was just still shots. So it was just the whole thing coming together.
In a manner of speaking, yes. In a manner of speaking, it was actually the rover was moving and taking shots, moving, taking shots, moving, taking shots, moving, taking shots, sending the still shots back, but yet we're going to have the opportunity to see it as the appearance of the rover moving.
Yeah, and it's all an illusion.
Yes, just like a movie. That's what Bhagavan used to use as an analogy. What is the real is the screen, the awareness on which it is appearing.
Which is absolutely still.
Which is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. Always, all presence, always, already, everywhere present, simultaneously.
Even our senses function that way.
Mm-hmm.
They send packets, not no continuous stream.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, a word of caution. All of this that has been shared in what we call the past hour, which appears to be occurring in time, has been recorded and it's been registered and recorded in the mind. Prior to the mind is the awareness, which is what we are. The mind is a counterfeit awareness, a false awareness. It's like the film that the pictures have been. It's like the camcorder. See, it's all being recorded on the camcorder. And so that's the mind. It's like the mind. So the record of it is the mind. And so that's the memory of it. Now, I caution you. The word of caution is, don't identify with that. It's okay, it's there. It's an instrument, it's a tool, it's beneficial. But don't identify with it, because that's not the reality. The record of it is not the reality. The word is not the reality. What is a word? It's a subtle thought, see? Or thoughts are subtle words. Words are energy. What's energy? It's vibration. So it's just apparent movement. But all of this is occurring on the awareness that we are. We're the awareness which is faceless, formless, timeless, spaceless. Ever present. This instant, ever present. So everything is being recorded. Even the thought can be of the past, the thought could even be of the future, but while we're having the thought of the past, it's only this instant. While we're having the thought of the future, it's only this instant. Only this instant is. Not the past. Not the future. They do not even exist. Only this instant. This instant is real. This instant is what is existing. The rest only appears to exist. So get it that the past is false. The future is false. The only real is this present. And the present is the awareness itself, not even what is being registered in the present. What's being registered in the present is still an object. It is being registered. If there is a subject there with the registration of the object, and you're making this subject the one, and it moves on too, that's not it either. There's the awareness that is prior even to the subject. That's the me. That's the mind, you see. The mind that is registering it as another subject. The false, the pseudo self. Make that distinction. Stay with the distinction, never losing sight that the awareness, again, this is words. Don't believe it in words, just let the words point us, that the awareness is always what is. The thought is what appears to be. I as a thought, I am is not a thought. It's the awareness itself, and as Gregory a moment ago said, it's just one instant away. So close to, so immediately next to. The thought is so immediately next to the awareness. But make the distinction and stay with the distinction that the awareness is, it's what's real. The thought is pseudo. It's false. It's only appearing. Do not identify with the thought, identify with the awareness. Stay as the awareness. Remain or remember as the awareness. Let that be remembered as the ground of being. Not the thought as the ground of being. Not the memory as the ground of being. Not the record of them as the ground of being. The awareness. And as we abide and remain in this awareness as the ground of being, happiness is our true nature. So remain here and be happy. Namaste.
Namaste. The shadow, waiting for the light, wishing to the moon in the safety of the night. Your dreaming has not failed you. You are only in between, and the world will be till everyone has seen. Time is getting nearer for time to disappear. Time is only with us to let the vision clear. For when this dream is over, we'll all know what it means, and the world will be till everyone has seen. And so our ships go sailing unto a distant shore. Along with them our wishes, until we wish no more. For when we give to loving, we'll all know what it means, and the world will be till